Welcome to our session of SAP for beginners. We are now starting chapter 8. In the previous chapters, between chapter 1 to chapter 7, we have dealt with the conventional SAP which has been in presence until 2016-2017. But from 2015 onward, in memory computing has actually brought a significant change the way SAP handles its program and software. And as I shown in the first video, in the journey of SAP is now focusing more on the new technology of SAP HANA and the new generation SAP AI, SAP ML, SAP RPA, everything is being integrated with S4 HANA. So let us understand first what is in-memory computing and how the architecture is different from the conventional architecture we had in ECC. In the pictorial representation, let us assume that in the right hand corner there is something called SAP database. Now SAP database is normally huge. Let's say normal in a standard company SAP database is in the range of maybe several terabytes actually. Now imagine a system when the SAP database is actually stored SAP database is actually stored inside the RAM of a computer. So inside the memory the database is there and it is and since the CPU is accessing the RAM, it is also accessing the database. The advantage is if we can do that, then the transactional time reduces considerably, and also database being inside the memory itself, the iteration of the data, taking out data from different sources, different comes down, and we get rid of the table structure through which SAP traditionally was working. So let's go back to the next architecture of SAP HANA. So what SAP is now propagating, that SAP HANA has a capability of developing the database inside the memory, that is the in-memory data platform, and therefore the real-time application and real-time the third-party application will be available directly through HANA, and then it is very easy for the cloud deployment also. So the advantage in this case is, suppose imagine there is a SAP business suite which is a SAP environment, and imagine there is another third party system, maybe there is a MES or there is a IoT system or there is some kind of unstructured data system. Because now the in-memory database is in place, the data services can be used, and then using the Hadoop integration, we can immediately bring the data very easily and create the real-time analytics and real-time analytics which is by default by default connected with the SAP business intelligence or business objects actually. So this will give you a 360-degree view of a business on real-time basis from many parameters. So in days to come, where there are MES application was a different application, SAP is now offering SAP MI as the MES, and that will actually connect the plant machines directly with HANA using these data services. And since it is directly connected, the whatever the sizes of the database is, the dicing and slicing of the data can happen more easily, and the data model can be created easily. In fact, HANA is giving opportunity, is doing some kind of integrating some kind of unstructured data, integrating text search, integrating natural language processing, and also integrating the some kind of data science platforms directly with SAP actually. And also, if the application which SAP was so long was not able to connect, like instant Microsoft Excel or some kind of other application, or is easily now, though they are also connected with SAP through this actually. Now, let us now try to understand how this new technology has brought the architectural change completely. So, SAP is now saying that there is a database server which SAP is recommending SAP HANA. HANA DB is the DB which SAP is owning. Yeah, there was a time when SAP was allowing people to work with Oracle DB, DB2 and all these things, but now SAP HANA has the HANA DB, which is SAP's database. And then in the HANA DB, the physical tables will have directly runtime views, SQL runtime views. So you can see the data directly in the physical table data, you can see directly. And then when you go to the application server layer, there will be private views, interface views, consumption views, which means for all these things where we were writing a custom program or we are writing some kind of analytics to get these views are now directly available in the application itself. And the application in analytical engine and the OData service through SAP Gateway is directly getting connected to SAP Fiori as the user interface, SAP Business Objects as the PI tool, and also any third party user interface client. So, what happens when you are, let's assume that one of the employee is confirming a production order confirmation. So, in a layman language, if I say that whenever in our past example of the fastener or the screw, we are producing a screw and we want that production confirmation immediately happens. That means it has to be recorded how many screws are getting produced immediately. Using Fiori, now it can happen online and in time, so that you don't have to do a batch work sitting sometime later. And those datas are also being connected with cloud. You can create a data warehouse and the data analytical immediately using that service actually. So embedded analytics now is a part of SAP. Now it is a part of S4 HANA. Now SAP is now suggesting the existing partners, existing customers. There are two ways you can migrate to HANA. There is a process which is called Suite on HANA, where you don't change the SAP program, SAP functionality, only change the database from Oracle DB to maybe a HANA DB, and you operate for some time. That is called a suit on HANA. And the second option is that next step what you can do, you can modify the SAP program completely, and instead of writing in SAP R3 or SAP ECC, you implement the functionality of the S4 HANA, and thereby you functionality of the S4 HANA, and thereby you can get the new functionality directly. In the screen I am showing that we had, if we implement S4 HANA, like previously we had SD. So I'm just taking an example of a logistics. So now they have directly views available for logistics general, sales and distribution, logistics execution, plant maintenance. So whatever modules we had earlier, those are now available as an analytic view, and within the application engine itself you can create lot of views, and therefore it is possible for us to understand the transaction better and also derive any meaningful inference from all those transactional data easily. Now, another advantage which we get if we move to this is actually reduction of the database size. Because what we have seen in when SAP Business Suite ECC 6.0, the conventional SAP was there and the traditional database was there. If somebody moved to Suite on HANA, that means Suite on HANA means I just now explained that the change the database from Oracle or DB2 to HANA, and keep the Business Suite the application as it is, then we are reducing by 5 times the size of the database is reducing. If somebody move to S4 HANA, that means they spend money and energy and they actually go and do the business suite S4 HANA they implement, further 2.5 times the database size is coming down. And if somebody go for business suite for S4 HANA and the HANA database, and they create a split into the actual information and the historical information, they can further reduce by 4x time. So in a layman language, if you can see that the database size, if you go here, let's say 100 gigabyte, here it will be much less. And because it is much less, it is easier now to host this database completely on cloud. And that is how SAP is propagating. SAP has now come up with the conception of SAP HANA on cloud. So SAP HANA on cloud, they are now offering, instead of owning everything there, you can actually put the data, put the application, everything in cloud, and you can take a SaaS service or a PaaS service from SAP, where depending upon your usage, you can pay SAP what you want to use. So that's a HANA in-memory computing, in HANA is changing completely the way that people are going to work in SAP. The only thing is that it is not, as we speak now, almost 11,000 customers I personally know in India, they are implemented S4 HANA, but the numbers are still large because millions of people have already implemented SAP. So there will be a lot of effort required to move from ECC to S4 HANA, and in days to come, one by one, that is going to happen actually. Now in this diagram, I am saying there are two scenarios. One is your on-premise landscape where the SAP ERP, the data service function, the files and the database and the data service agent, everything happens inside your server room, inside your server farm. Then the next opportunity is that you move to S4 HANA, and the moment to S4 HANA, SAP becomes a browser based, and then it becomes the identity service is available now, and the repositories are now available directly on cloud, and then through HANA loader, the field data are now directly available in HANA Cloud actually. In this diagram, we have tried to show what is the data flow and the metadata flow will happen in between. But however, these are for little advanced users. I am sure that some of you, when you go through this and will be interested to know more, I will supply some of the documentation which you can refer, and you will get lot of interesting information from this slide actually. This I have already explained. I now see a very important and interesting conception, how master data is going to have a change under the new scenario. So SAP master data governance, now they are actually telling, they are now going SAP after HANA, they are now going into line of business concept. So line of business means instead of having a common parameter, you can have line of business customer, line of business procurement, line of business function, production, and other line of business. So therefore, the master data governance system of SAP will be able to organize a central governance much better. Same governance philosophy for all data, whether the data belongs to customer or data belongs to other business, same governance philosophy can be applied there. And also the data quality management. As I was telling, that the data quality is a big issue in master data. The data governance structure will allow us to give a better data quality management. It will be much easier for us to consolidate the data, consolidate the either you do the deduplication or you do the consolidation, it will be easier. Data quality management will be much better. Mass processing of the information will be easier, and process analytics. Every process through for which the master data is being used, those analytics will be very easily available. And therefore, the reporting and analytics being a embedded system in S4 HANA, master data will play a much bigger role in creating the analytics directly from the system, and the transaction data and master data both put together will be able to bring a lot of value to the end user when he is using SAP actually. I move to the almost the last section of my presentation, which is SAP is spending lot of energy, lot of money, and going using the HANA platform. They are now going into the new application. Lot of machine learning application SAP has developed, which they are now directly bringing on the SAP platform, and they are embedding that. If you are buying a particular application of SAP, and if you have certain benchmark available on that, directly machine learning based applications are now available, which can be as a part of intelligence suite you can be available. SAP is also now integrating with SAP RPA. In fact, in one of the latest session, I attended a SAP Leonardo. SAP Leonardo is actually one of the SAP IoT function where which SAP has developed. So there I have seen that SAP is directly implemented with robotic process automation. So lot of robotic process automation provides the opportunity, lot of day-to-day repetitive kind of activity. You can actually decide a RPA, and that RPA will be directly integrated with SAP. So to give an example, account payable function requires a lot of invoice to be handled by the procurement team. Now previously those invoices were used to physically come. Somebody has to check invoice is correct or not, then physically make a good receipt note, then physically make a invoice verification, and then post the data in SAP. And there are a lot of workflows around that. People actually spend a lot of time and energy in doing that. But imagine a situation, a company like a large company like Walmart, where there will be some millions of invoices, doing all this thing manually is a pain. So what people can do now, using RPA and using the IoT devices, you can directly record the transaction, scan the invoice can be scanned, or the digital invoice can be taken. They can be checked using the bot can check the invoice, and immediately based on the go no go parameter, if the invoice is okay and if that particular purchase order has got sufficient value available against which the invoice has come, invoice can be parked for posting immediately. So that actually, personally, I have seen this project. It has happened recently in with under our organization, that the invoice previously which is to take lot of time, now it is being handled in 2 to 3 minutes time using the whole thing, because bot hardly takes time. So like similarly, there are other applications like SAP is now working on the conversation artificial intelligence. So there are many, the traditionally, I'm just giving an example, that traditionally there are a lot of people, they use the email to send the inquiry, but in SAP email you can't access. Always need a structural way to enter the data in SD module or CRM. Conversational AI is now helping SAP to pick up information from unstructured data, maybe from email, maybe from written note, and then enter the information in CRM. And it also helps us immediately create the order and fulfill the requirement to customer. Then there is lot of intelligence. SAP data intelligence is actually another important area where SAP is directly connecting with the machines, and SAP is creating a lot of views by which the health of the machine, the predictive maintenance of the machine can be done, or those kind of thing can be taken over. So by using lot of technologies and lot of digital platform, SAP is bringing in lot of new avenue, and I am sure in days to come, the with the new generation of the data science or machine learning techniques being available, it will be easier for the normal business user to work with SAP, and it will be more interesting to see. I have taken this session, I have tried to communicate the uh, fundamentals, maybe the overview kind of thing. I did not have the time or did not have the opportunity to go in detail of any one of them. As when I started the presentation, I said that SAP is like a ocean. Every subject, every parameter, every module is a huge ocean. So if somebody has to really get into this, they have to study well, they have to understand. So this presentation I will complement with lot of study material. I will probably put it in a common drive, And in case you have some question, you can definitely come back and ask me. I should be able to help you out in that. I hope you have enjoyed the journey. This is just an overview of the SAP I have given. And thank you for being with us and thank you for attending this session. Thank you very much.